Hey Devo, hope you're doing well. My name's Luke, and I'm going to carry on the series that Abby started last week, looking at highs and lows. And so last week, Abby talked about where is God in tough times, and she said that God is there and God does care. That was the overall thing. And then this week, I'm going to look at how do we deal with tough times. And yeah, if coronavirus has shown us anything, is that tough times are going to come and we might not see them coming, so maybe it's worth thinking about how we get through them. So we're going to go to the Bible and we're going to go to a classic story in Matthew, which is about two people building some houses. So Jesus said, "Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, yet it did not fall, because it had its foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash." So in that story, we've got two people building some houses. And let's think of those houses more like their lives, like they're building their lives and choosing what they're going to build them on. And so the foolish man, he makes the choice about the foundations. The storms come and those foundations are not good enough. They're too weak. And so the house is washed away. And then the wise man, he makes a different choice about the foundations. And the storms come again. And this time they batter this house. And whilst it's horrible outside, inside, it's safe, it's calm. That house stands firm because the foundations are strong. And so when we read that story, I think all of us want to be the wise man, right? We want to get through the storm, and if we want to get through it, then maybe we should pay attention to what he used for his foundations, because they got him through the storm. So what do I mean by foundations? I'm talking about stuff in life that we choose to make important, or when we're struggling, who we rely on, who we ask for help from, or what we kind of have at the centre of us that we build everything else on, which is important, right? Because if you build a foundation, you have something at the centre of who you are, and then you put everything else about you on top of it. If the stuff at the bottom isn't very strong, then the rest of it is weak, and it could just fall over. Like if you try to stand on something wobbly, let's say stand on a space hopper, pretty soon you're going to be on the floor. Like you're not going to be able to stand on that very long. But instead, if you just stand on a chair, yeah, you can stand on a chair for a pretty long time, can't you? It's a firm foundation. So if we go back to the story and look at what the wise man did, because we want to have foundations like the wise man, right? And so the wise man listened to Jesus and he did something about it. Because it's easy when life is going great, actually, to kind of just chill out with God a bit and just take it easy and not do so much. But he didn't do that. He put effort in. He built his foundations. And so he chose to build on the rock. And for us, that rock is Jesus. And so we should get to know Jesus. Like, we should put effort into praying. We should read the Bible. We should talk to Jesus, listen to Jesus. And we can have Jesus as that friend every day of our lives where, like, no matter what we're going through, we can talk to him and share how we're feeling, and he will always listen. He'll always be there, and we can just rely on him. And we should also say that Jesus is important to us, and so we're going to make that a priority in building that foundation. And then we look at what happened during the storm. So this wise man, he didn't know what the storm was going to be. He didn't know when it was going to come. He just built his foundation so that he was ready. And when the storm came, he was sorted. That house did not go anywhere. He was secure. And so sometimes for us, tough stuff will happen and it'll feel like the world is just upside down, like what is going on? And we'll just reach out for anything that we can to keep us secure, or we'll just be worn out. Life will be just so tough and we just want to lean on something. And for both of those things, Jesus is the answer. Jesus is the rock that we can lean on and that we can hold on to. He will be secure and get us through the storm. But it's also important to say that just because we build good foundations, doesn't make the tough stuff easy. Like if in the story, the wise man, he still had to get through the storm. Just because he built his foundations on the rock didn't make the storm go away, but it meant that he had a foundation to get him through. Like for me personally, over the last few months, there's been some tough stuff going on in my family, and I've had days where I've just really struggled to believe that God is there. Like, how could he be letting some of this stuff happen? But the thing that got me through that is that I already had a relationship with God. I knew Jesus. I could talk to him and pray. I could read the Bible and get encouragement. And I could also remember times in the past when I'd been having better days and I'd been in the presence of God and just felt him there, or I'd seen a miracle or a prayer answered. And those were times that I knew God was real. So even when I was struggling and felt like, God, you've left me alone here, I could go back to those times and think, no, God hasn't left me alone, and I know he's here. But then even so, sometimes the tough stuff is just so tough, and there's no escaping it, and like it's just why is this happening, and you've got no answer for it. And at that point we just have to trust. Like if we spent the time building the foundations and we've got to know God, then we know God's heart, and we know that he's about love and that he cares for us and that he's always there, and he's also consistent. Like even if we're having a good day or a bad day, God's the same. We can always rely on that. And you know, if we choose to rely on that, then actually our faith gets stronger. We get closer to God, and we actually become more like Jesus, which is just incredible. And so that's it. That's all I've got to say, really. And so my question, really, for this evening is, what are we all building our foundations on? Are we going sand? Are we going rock? Yeah, thanks for listening, guys. I hope you had some great conversations.